to welcome everybody to the Candidates Forum tonight. We have with us the candidates who are involved in contested races in the April 8th municipal election for the City of St. Mary. I'd like to thank you all for coming. Thank you to the candidates for offering your services in elected office. And I'd like to thank you for participating in tonight's event. We thank the Country Music Associates for allowing the use of their facility this evening. The forum is sponsored by the University of Missouri Extension, the St. Genevieve Community Access Television, and the St. Genevieve Herald. Community Access Television can be seen on channels 7 and 98, and a rebroadcast of this forum will be available in the coming days on channel 98, and also on the website at stgentv.com. My name is Toby Carrick. I'm the editor of the St. Genevieve Herald, and I will be one of the panelists this evening, along with Tish Johnson of the University of Missouri Extension. First, tonight we're speaking with the aldermanic candidates for the two races in the City of St. Mary, Ward 1 and Ward 2. In Ward 1, we have with us tonight challenger Roger Odom. Incumbent Clyde Kasut is not with us this evening. And in Ward 2, we have Dennis Bovey and Danny Boyette. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening introductory statement, followed by the first questions, and they will have 1 minute to respond to the questions. At the end of the session, the candidates will also have a 1 minute closing statement to kind of recap and make whatever final points they'd like to. The questions are known to only Tish and myself, and some have been submitted also by email. And we hope to get to as many as we can in about the next 40 minutes or so. And we will begin with Mr. Odom with a 2 minute opening statement.
Okay, my name is Roger Odom.
I'm sorry, would you use the microphone, please?
Oh.
Thank you. You can just push the button now.
Okay. My name is Roger Odom. I've lived in St. Mary since 1991. I was born and raised in Scuda, Illinois. High school graduate. Entered the military in 1968, where I spent 22 years, 2 of which were not in my choosing, the government kept me in. I'm married. I have 6 children and 8 grandchildren. My work experience was production control maintenance supervisor for H-64 helicopter, aircraft engine inspector. After retirement from the military, served as technical inspector specialist for H-64 helicopter, engine and airframe technician at Saveliner, lead man, airframe and repair, overhaul of U.S. Navy and Air Force aircraft components. And that should do it.
Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dennis Bovey. I'm running for Alderman of Ward 2. I was an Alderman in the past 6 years. Board President appointed by my peers for 5 years. I have board training by the Missouri Rural Water Association. I serve as representative of SEMO Planning Commission for St. Mary for 7 years now. I was appointed by my peers to Vice Chair of the Solid Waste Executive Committee. I have OSHA training for a competent person on excavation. I have certifications for drinking water, distribution, and wastewater. I'm a member of the Trinity Baptist Church. I work with people who have substance abuse problems. I've served in the military for 20 years. I think with my qualification, I feel that I'm the best choice for Alderman.
I'm Danny Boyette. I'm running for Alderman 2, Ward 2. I've been married 21 years in St. Genevieve area here, home county. I've been working in this whole area all my life. Graduated in St. Genevieve. Been working for the highway department for the last 23 years and retired out there and got in my own business, trucking business. And I've been a resident down here about 2 years now. I just think I'd like to see if I can help make some changes around here.
Good, thank you. So gentlemen, we'll start the answering in ballot order here. We'll go again with Mr. Odom. And our first questions, we'll make it an easy one. Why should people vote for you as opposed to your opponent? Not supposed to be an
Well,
easy one.
I was an alderman for 8 years total, and I feel that I could be an asset to the city, and I would like to help the citizens, if possible, listening to their concerns about the city, and see what I can do to help make their lives a little bit better in St. Mary's.
Mr. Bovee?
I think that the qualifications that I bring to the table makes me the better candidate. I think that we have some problems in St. Mary with unification of the board, and I think that I can bring about that unification.
Mr. Boyer?
Well, I have no experience being an officer for the alderman or anything, but I believe in letting the people come to the meetings and hear what they got to say, and I'd like to satisfy their minds and try to make things happen. I mean, I'm always was one to first step in line to make things happen if it's possible. If all the group on the board agrees to it.
Thank you. Toby?
Start with Mr. Bovee and his question, and go to Mr. Boyette, and then back to Mr. Odom. My question is, you guys talked a little bit about unification of the Board of Aldermen. What changes, if any, would you like to propose for how the Board of Aldermen's meetings are conducted?
Well, I don't think there's really a problem with the meetings the way they're conducted. I mean, the mayor is the administrator of the meetings, and I believe that what we need is more communication between the board members to accomplish what needs to be done. I don't think we need a free-for-all. Everybody there, I don't think that's what meetings are for. Meetings are there for, it's not a public meeting, you know, where you have everybody come in and say whatever they want to say. You'll be there all night. I think a meeting is to conduct business, and I think that's what we should do. If there is a problem that citizens need to talk about, then that's what the public forum is for at the end of the thing, to talk about or they can talk to their alderman, and their alderman can bring it up in the meeting.
I think a little bit different about that. I think anybody should be able to come to these meetings and put in what they like to see happen, and then let us study it out and see if we can't make it happen for them. I mean, this is their property down there too in their life. And they like to see a lot of changes, so we'll push that issue.
Mr. Odom?
Is the question again?
What changes, if any, would you like to see in the way that Board of Aldermen's meetings are conducted?
Well, I would like to see that the public forum is, before any ordinances are voted on, to get the citizens' input, because it's their town and their lives, and they need to have a say-so in city government.
So beginning this time with Mr. Boyette, and then going down to Mr. Odom. It's a little awkward, but that way we can make it fair. Everybody gets a chance to be first and be last. We always ask about your priorities for the city, but I had an interesting question submitted by the member of the public. What do you think the public of St. Mary, what do you think their priorities are for the city?
They want to see good quality water and affordable water, and they'd like to see their taxes lowered, because we're paying higher and higher taxes, and the values of the property's going down, and people are leaving, and there's just got to be some changes.
Mr. Odom?
I think Mr. Boyd pretty well covered everything. Question again?
What do you think the public's priorities are for the city of St. Mary? What do you think people are concerned about?
Well, they're concerned about the taxes, other things like, some of the ordinances aren't in compliance with state statutes, and they need to be gone through and revised, and, that would help citizens.
Mr. Bovee?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of concern about the water rates. I'm sure there's a lot of concern about taxes and everything like that, but I just want everybody to know that there's nothing we can do about the water rates, because the water rates are set by rural development, the people that we hold the bonds with. And it's going to be that way until 2046. As far as lowering the taxes and everything, well, if you do that, the city can't operate. We're redlining it now, as it is. So, I don't see where we can cut taxes. I don't see where we can cut the water rates or sewer rates or anything else. I mean, I would love to be able to do that, but it's just not possible at this time.
Well, since we've begun talking about the water, that was obviously an issue I was going to bring up tonight. And we'll give you extra time if needed on this, because I'm going to ask you about a three-part question here. First of all, I'd like you to give me your assessment of how the water department stands currently, and what, if anything, you'd like to see changed. And then thirdly, how you propose doing that while some of you talk about reducing the costs for water rates. So again, it's assessment of current conditions with the water department, what you'd like to see changed, if anything, and if you're going to make any changes, how you'd like to see the water rates reduced.
We'll start with Mr. Odom.
Well, the biggest thing is, I think we need to look at cutting costs. The city spends too much money on things that they don't need. There's several ways that we can cut the expenses. And I really don't
Do you have
No.
any specifics?
specifics. There's the caution light that saves $18 a month. It's not really needed because that intersection is not blocked by buildings anymore. Cut the hours of the city employees, saves money. And I can't think of anything else right now.
There's a lot to remember.
Well,
Mr. Bovee.
Yeah.
Mr. Bovee, please, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
So-
fine.
I'm fine with it.
Well, for one thing, we pay for our water now. We don't make our own water. Our water comes from St. John County. It's a set rate. When they raise their rates and everything, the city has to pay for it. Everything that we use, the city pays for. I think the water's fine. I have no problem. All our bacterias are good. Our chlorine residuals are good. Yes, there was a problem to begin with when the system was new. Had to work through it, and finally, since we couldn't discover exactly where the problem is, we were mandated to chlorinate, which we did. As far as expenses are concerned, we're at our bare minimum. We don't spend any more money than necessary to ensure quality water. And I mean, I might be a little prejudiced because I'm the operator, but I'm just telling you for a fact that we've gotten good reports now for the last 8 months or whatever, and our residuals are good, and DNR's been down here a couple of times, and every sanitary inspection we ever had through DNR has always come out to be good for both the water and the wastewater. So I don't know what people are complaining about.
Well, I still think there's need to be a lot of cutting back, maybe part-time help even. You guys, I see a lot of stuff out on the road. Being a whole highway department man myself, I took stuff from the public. I mean, they don't even like to see you sitting around in a truck when you could be doing something else. I mean, hey, you're working for the public, you should be working. But there's could be a lot of changes to save the city taxpayers' money. When you're dealing with people's money, they got eyes, they're gonna be watching.
As with Mr. Odom, do you have any specifics that you, other than part-time help? Okay.
Being you, I gotta just let it lie for a little bit.
Sure. So, in my own rules. The city had some good news this year when TG bought the old Saberliner plant, and they will be doing something with that facility. But in terms of the economic climate in St. Mary, what steps do you think need to be taken to make St. Mary's have a better business climate? And we'll start this one with Mr. Beauvais and Mr. Boyette, and ending with Mr. Odom.
Well, for one, I think that the same thing it's always been is that we need to support what we have. Because of the buyouts and everything else, we can't bring new business into St. Mary because there's no place to build. But we can do our best as citizens and elected officials to keep what we have and support it and do the best we can. That includes every business in St. Mary's that we have now, and just keep it. Wished I could say we could bring in more revenue by attracting more business here, but there's just no place to build, and we got to look at reality. The requirements to build on a buyout are so outrageous that it's almost impossible. So I think that if everybody here supports what we have, we won't lose anything. You understand what I'm saying? If we don't use it, we'll lose it.
I do agree with most of that, but there's always room for improvements, and I would like to see more businesses come in down here. Finding the ground to do it might be a problem, but that's my main goal too, just to get new people in here and more businesses, because the people down here definitely need jobs. That's about where I'm at.
Mr. Odom?
There is property here at St. Mary. Bartles Industrial Drive, that's up there where Saberliner used to be. There's ground there for building. And why it's not being utilized, I have no idea. We try to get business in there to build it and increase the industry.
Give that down to Mr. Boyette, please. First this time.
If you are elected, what would be the first item you would like to accomplish?
I think I'd like to dabble in that water business myself and make sure everything, I've been hearing lots of rumors, and that's all it is rumors. I want to know for myself that we got good quality, pure water, good clean water. People are telling me nightmare stories, but it could be just all gossip, but I want to know. So, and I will be there to open up to them for suggestions, and I want them to know from me. It's good. But water's my main thing right now.
Mr. Odom?
One priorities I think is to get the citizens involved and instead of being ready to come to the meetings. Change the agenda to where the public forum is at the beginning of the meeting instead of at the end after all the actions have been taken.
Mr. Beauvais?
Well, I think that my first order of business would be to see that all the people on the board, all the aldermen and everything, communicate with one another, that they don't just come to the meetings and meet at the meetings and expect things to happen in just that one night. I think that they should get together and talk with one another, you know, and have work sessions like Mr. Wyatt had before meetings and talk about things before the meeting so that the meeting could run a little more smoothly. I think that if a citizen has a problem with what's coming up, it's up to the alderman to see that that citizen gets a voice. If we're going to vote on an ordinance, the aldermen get the agenda 2 or 3 days ahead of time before the meeting. And they should get the views of their prospective wards before the meeting so they can bring it to the meeting and get those opinions expressed. I don't think that having 50 people in a space that only holds maybe 25 would be a very good environment to sorry.
Back it up.
Good question again. It was my question, wasn't it? I get to listening. Okay, sorry. I get into listening to you gentlemen and I forget where we're at. So, here's one we haven't asked before, but as I'm listening to you talk and I'm wondering about how you think and where that come from. Tell me about a leader, somebody you admire, somebody in government, and something that you have learned from that leader that you want to bring to local government. Yeah, I know it's a hard one. Who's your role model?
Kind of hard to say, right?
I know it's a tough one. Think about it.
Yeah, it's very tough.
Mr. Bobet, while he's thinking, do you have a response perhaps?
Sure. I mean, it might not be a proper president, but I think Clinton, when he brought the deficit down and had a surplus in the deficit and things that he did accomplish during his thing, that's something I would like to do. I would like to see that we work out something that maybe we could have a plus somewhere, and then maybe we could do the things that everybody else wants to do. But I would like to try to do that somehow. Use some sensible way to adjust things that we can make things happen that way. I don't know how yet. I don't know what we can do, but I would like to try.
Okay.
Tough question for me. You said who the prettiest, I would have said Sarah Palin or something like that. I'm not into politics that much and never was.
Trait that you admire in somebody who is a role model.
I can't think.
That's fine, that's fine. It was a tough question.
Yeah, it was.
Mr. Odom, did you have anything to add?
Grants. I don't know who writes these grants, but cities like Bloomsdale, they get all the grant money because they have professionals write their grant applications. And we need to have somebody that is trained to write these so we can get the money so we can move ahead.
Okay.
Let me ask you about city workers and the budget. Sounds like you guys have touched on that a little bit tonight. Let's take a broad-based approach. You've got maintenance people, public works, you've got the city clerk, and you've got chief of police. What would you like to see in terms of the future for those positions in the city in terms of full-time, part-time, or even have some of those positions at all.
Let's start with Mr. Boyette, please.
Excuse me. I think they're gonna work full-time, or be paid for full-time, work full-time. Not to be seeing them sitting around so much, and cluttered up in a building somewhere, hiding out like. Believe me, I see it, they ain't gonna tell me they ain't. So I'd like to see all that kind of stopped or put them on part-time. I see lots of maintenance on roads out there to be fixed, potholes. Working that water, everybody's still complaining about it, so there's gotta be something wrong.
Mr. Odom?
When they don't have priorities to work on, they should be doing preventive maintenance on the vehicles and the sewer plant. In the military, preventive maintenance was the #1 thing to keep you ready for combat. And I don't know if they're doing preventive maintenance on their equipment or not. But that's one thing that they should be doing in their lax time.
Mr. Bobet?
You know, those guys work hard. There's times when they're working overtime, like when the streets are need cleaned off and stuff like that. There are times when they have a break in work that's being done. And I'll be the first one to admit that, okay? But those guys work their heart out. They're for the city. And I think they've been doing an outstanding job. I don't see anything that hasn't been done or needs to be done. So I'm not going to pick on those workers, okay? And our city clerk is one of the most outstanding city clerks we've had in a long time, other than Joanne, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't have no complaints about him either. So, and the city cop, well, I don't know what it takes to be a chief of police, and I'm not about to judge him because that's a whole different ballgame. I think he does the job he needs to do.
Okay, I'll ask you an easier one this time. Make up for the last one. The job of alderman, especially in a small community, can take up a lot of your time. Are you able to commit the necessary time to attend the meetings and all of the other duties of the Board of Aldermen? And are there any schedule issues that the public should be aware of?
No, I'm retired now, so
Okay,
I'm game for anything.
all right.
Bring it
Mr.
on.
Odom?
I was medically retired, and I have all the time in the world. I'm home most of the time, and I do drive around St. Mary a lot, and I have all the time in the world that the city's one couple.
Okay. Mr. Bobet?
I'm here all the time. And a lot of times on the weekends, I go out and take care of things, but I'm the operator, okay? And I donate a lot of time to the city, so I don't never have a problem. If somebody's got a problem, I'm there. I take care of it, and I'm willing to do that as an alderman as well as what I do now.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Odom this time. We'll get back on track there.
There you go.
What city streets do you believe need to be improved, and where do you see the funding would come from to help with those improvements?
Well, we had a half-cent tax increase for that purpose, to take care of the roads. Up by Mozzie Monk's and Melville Freelick Street, that's gravel yet, and that needs to be paved. And there's a street up just off 4th Street that the asphalt is crumbling and falling down. And the people that live there, they complained to me, and I said, I'm not a hauler anymore. I can't do anything about it. Other than that, I didn't get around to all the streets, but those are the two main streets that really need to be taken care of.
Okay. Mr. Bovee?
First of all, I don't think anybody realizes what it costs to pave the street. And we just had 3rd Street and 4th Street paved all the way from Pine all the way up to Marion Cliff. And if it wasn't for getting certain funding, we couldn't have done it. Even though we get, from the county, we get $14,000, I believe, and plus the other stuff that we, plus our regular budget. They're just not, it takes a lot of money to pave the street, just to overlay it. I mean, you know, and the alderman that's over the streets right now, he does his best. I ain't gonna talk bad about nobody. I'm just saying that he does what he thinks is necessary. And it's not an easy job when you got only 2 people in the city and that work, and they got other jobs too besides the streets and the water and the sewer, the mowing, everything else. So I think they do what they can.
Okay,
Still answer.
yes.
I think there's a few roads yet that still could be patched up, just plugging holes here and there, and it makes a big difference, keep people from growling about things. Believe me, they come to me and tell me about it, I ain't nobody. Talk to your all of them, so you're gonna get lots of phone calls, I'm sure, maybe you don't answer them, but they tell me they do. So it needs to be looked at.
Okay, beginning with Mr. Bovee this time, please. If elected, what will you do personally to ensure that city meetings are productive and peaceful?
Well, first of all, as a board member, it is my duty to make a motion to end the discussion so that it doesn't get too out of hand and that it's more orderly. And as long as I get a second and we can get it. When it starts to get rowdy, the board needs to put an end to it, the whole board. Things shouldn't get rowdy. That doesn't look good for anybody. So that's what I would do. I would make a motion to end the discussion.
Okay, Mr. Boyett?
Well, I don't really see why people get real rowdy at these meetings, and that's what everybody's there for, to work them out. So they should get their heads together about it and work it out if there's any problems going on. Shouldn't be no mudslinging and fist fighting or whatever is going on. So that's what I think about that. Give everybody the opportunity to talk. So we're there for the people.
Okay, Ms. Rhoda?
There are some issues that are brought up in the meetings that really shouldn't be brought up, and like Mr. Bovee says, we should make a motion to end the discussion.
Okay.
This will be my last question. And I believe one of you mentioned it in the paper this week about the need for organized records for the city so that ordinances are available for inspection by the residents. I was just curious how you propose, if you believe this is a need for the city to have this done, and how would you propose that it is done, if it's done by staff or an outside source or volunteers or some other method, in order to organize the records and such.
Let's start with Mr. Boyett this time, please.
And that's something that's all new to me, but, yeah, there definitely will be some kind of record for people to consider them, look at them. I know I would want to, if I thought something's not going right, I want to access to them, look them up.
It would be real simple. All we would have to do is copy, existing ordinances, index them, and put them in folder to display in the city hall for the citizens to go through and see if they're violating any ordinances. And they should be brought back into and locked up in the evening. All be open during business hours.
As it stands right now, any citizen can come in and check out an ordinance. If they're not sure what kind of what ordinance they're looking for, all they have to do is describe what type of thing that they're wanting to look up. And we have a list, it's a correlated list that the city clerk has of all the numbers of the ordinances that we have passed. And all they gotta do is tell him exactly what they're looking for, if we got an ordinance against it, or for it, or whatever the case may be, and he will look it up for them, and they are allowed to stay within City Hall and inspect that ordinance. And if they want a copy, they have to pay for it, like the Sunshine Law. They have to make a Sunshine Law request. That's what I'm saying. Copying all the ordinances, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, gentlemen, last question, a follow-up to Toby's. Many communities, having ordinances is one thing, enforcing them is another. Do you believe that St. Mary's ordinances are enforced fairly? And what would you do to increase compliance with city ordinances? Beginning with Mr. Odom, please, and going down the line.
Okay.
A lot of the ordinances are, what would I say, so selectively enforced, and we need to stop that.
Do you have any specific suggestions?
Not offhand.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bovee?
I believe that the ordinances are enforced and that our chief of police does the best that he can. He don't see everything, but when it's brought to his attention, he usually takes care of it. And if he doesn't, and I know that the mayor will usually get on his butt to get it taken care of. So I'm like I said, I'm not a law enforcement person. I don't pretend to try to predict what they should do or what they shouldn't do, because a lot of times enforcement is on the person that's enforcing it. I mean, it's up to them on how it's done. And for me to judge somebody when I don't know what their actual job assignment is would be unfair.
Well, we definitely need ordinances, but I didn't even know we had any when I moved down here. And I got escorted out of my own house after I moved in for about 3 or 4 days. Told me you can't move in till you get a inspection done. So I come to the city hall after Mark told me this. And come to find out, he told me also that they didn't have it. You got to go up and buy you a set of ordinances to look at them yourself for $25. I said, what? So I just didn't go through it. I went ahead and moved out for a week and come back. Got my house all inspected. But we definitely need to go through them and look them over and see what's really important, what really ain't. But there's some that's pretty stupid. I'm sorry. That's the way it is.
Okay, gentlemen, now we'll take your final statements. If there's any points you wish to hit home or anything you didn't say that you wish you had. And we'll give you 1 minute each to speak. And continuing our trend, we will start with Mr. Beauvais in the middle, then Mr. Boyette, and finishing with Mr. Odom. Dennis, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Tish. First of all, I want to appreciate the Missouri Extension Office and Paper Toby. I appreciate you holding this thing. I think the questions were intelligent, and that I think that I pretty much have all my qualifications out there, and I think it's just going to be up to the voters to decide who's going to be eligible. That's all. I wish my opponents good luck, and I hope they will, it'll be a fair election. That's all.
Mr. Boyette?
That's all I'm asking for. Fair election, and I won't be enemies with nobody if they don't make it back in or whatever, so don't hold that against me, but I just think these people are ready for a change. And push it to the bitter end to make it happen.
I'll get back to the grants now. The grant money is out there, it's just, it needs to be written properly in order to get the money. And if elected, I will try to take care of the citizens in my ward the best as I can.
Anything for you, Toby? All right. Let's thank our candidates. Yeah, we'd like our two candidates for mayor of the city of St. Mary, please come forward. Have a seat in the hot seats up here. So we have Mr. Frank Girardo and Ms. Brenda Franklin. Sit wherever you're comfortable, please.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so thank you. We will begin with your opening statements. Ms. Franklin, we will begin with you.
Hello, my name is Brenda Franklin. I am running for mayor. I have lived in St. Mary's for 7 years. I have been alderman for the last 2 years. I think St. Mary's needs a change, and I think maybe I'm the one that can bring us all together and maybe cut down on all the fighting and carrying on at the meetings, and that's why I'm running for mayor.
Well, my name is Frank Girardo. I'm running for mayor. Been an alderman for 6 years. I was actually born in St. Mary Hospital, and I'd like to see the public be treated respectfully and have their say at meetings. I think every time there's a meeting and we're discussing, the board's discussing an item, members, city residents come and they have something to add or a question about what we're doing, they should be allowed to speak. They just raise their hand and ask. And it's not, you can only say something at the end of the meeting. I think they can talk during the work sessions, during the meetings. I think that's the most important thing, is allowing the public participation and their input, because it's their town. They should have a say, and they're the boss. We're just elected to represent them, and to represent them, if they have something to say, they should say it, and be allowed to. Thank you.
One of you will be elected the leader of the city for the next 2 years. We'll start with Ms. Franklin on the first question here. What steps would you take to improve the reputation of the city if you're elected mayor?
Well, I think that we need some communication with the aldermen, the mayor, and the citizens. I think we need more positive talking, less negative. I think that would make a big improvement if everything was on a positive instead of a negative.
Have the question again, please.
What steps would you take to improve the reputation of the city if you're elected mayor?
Well, obviously, I think it's allowing the public to participate and have a say. And it's their right. If they're not happy about something, they should be able to come right out and say what their problem is, what they're not happy with, what they'd like to see. I've been out campaigning and I'm listening to people instead of talking. The simple questions is, what do you like about St. Mary? What would you like to see? And what don't you like about St. Mary? And I've been getting what they don't like about St. Mary, and they're not very happy about a lot of the situations. And when I encourage them to come to the meetings, I get the same response: I don't want to be arrested. And I'll lose my temper. And, you know, they can come in and yell. They can be upset. That's their right. We have to listen to it and understand what their situation is and act on it. And I think that's the key right there, is be able to allow them to have a say. It's their town.
If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for your first few months in office? Let's start with you.
Okay. Well, I think the agenda is the main thing that the mayor has control over. And letting the public have a say on the items that are being discussed and having their input. And I think that that's the key right there. Allowing them to have a say and listening to them and acknowledging them, treating them respectfully, not dissing them and talking louder over them just to think maybe you've won the argument because you're shouting louder. We work for them, and that needs to be conveyed, that we're the puppets of the people, and we have to listen and acknowledge and respect their wishes. Thank you very much.
What was the question again?
If elected, your top 3 priorities for your first months in office?
Well, I think one priority should be that the mayor and the aldermen get together and discuss things openly. The citizens' participation, I think, should be a top priority, trying to get more people to come to the meetings and participate.
All right. So we could keep that microphone.
Okay.
Let me ask you about the water situation for the city. If you could give me your assessment of the water department and what changes you would like to see, if any, for the water department during your time as mayor.
Well, I think we have good water now. I'm sure there can be some improvements as far as explaining to the public, letting the public know what's going on in the water department. Like everybody thinks it's a big secret. It's not a big secret. And I think that we just need to get it out there and let everybody know what's what with the water. And I think that would make a big difference in the way people feel about our water.
Well, the consumer confidence isn't there. And out listening to people, they don't drink it, they don't trust it. Some say they get a rash from bathing in it, and health issues, whether it's stomach cramps or that they're blaming on the water. And I had started the drinking water brigade where we went and did independent samples that were contradicting what the city samples taken were. And then DNR come in and their samples would match similar to what I came up with. And I think that you have to have the consumer confidence, you have to work with them. And you had said 3 things and I only mentioned one in the previous question. I just wanted to say that the other is the budget. It needs to be carefully evaluated on how we're spending their tax dollars, and we need to control the spending as much as possible and save some money and spend it wisely. Thank you.
Understanding that both of you would be new to the office, neither of you is an incumbent, so you won't be intimately familiar with the details of the budget perhaps, but do you have some specific ideas of where you think the city could improve its budget? I'll start with Mr. Gerardo.
Specifically, it needs to be reviewed as far as other options. Last year I had said that the City of St. Genevieve switched to Alliance Water, and they've done a great job and they've got a good reputation. That hasn't been entertained. City needs to listen to their other options. If we were to let Alliance take over water, we'd have to have them come in and evaluate it and what they would charge. We would be paying them part-time because we don't really need full-time. They do other than water, so if we needed grass mowed, if we needed streets plowed, they also would do that, but we would be saving the 100% paid health insurance. We'd be spending the tax dollars much more wisely, and I think that would be the big improvement right there.
Ms. Franklin? Changes to the budget?
Well, I think that the budget needs to be looked at and gone through step by step to see if there is any way to save the city money or if we're doing what we need to do.
That microphone, Ms. Franklin.
Would you continue the practice of having an alderman or alderwoman designated as a liaison for certain city departments? And if not, what other methods would you propose for having communication between those departments and the Board of Aldermen?
Well, I think having the alderman over every department is a good idea because that way there's communication. But I think that's something that we need to sit down and look at to see if the city workers would be communicating more with the board or less with the board. I think with them over the departments, they're communicating more. The board members know whatever board member is over that department, they know what's going on in that department most of the time. So I think I would probably just leave it the way it is.
I would do it much differently. I think that, well, fourth-class cities, you don't put an alderman over a department. The aldermen are to observe and report, and they are not to handle departments and instruct employees, don't do this, do it this way, do it that way. That's something the board needs to decide, and they need to have the people over that work in the department report directly to the board, and the citizens say, well, Well, I see you guys outside smoking all the time, and I don't, what do you guys, you're burning stuff and you just sit there and watch it, and they feel that's a good waste, it's a waste of money. It's not using the time effectively. I think that the people over the departments, the employees, need to report directly to the board, then the board legislates, not one alderman trying to make excuses or explain the situation. They need to explain it for themselves, and then the board can determine that. Thank you.
Do you think there needs to be any changes in city personnel in any way or city services?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Well, as the mayor, I only really have a say if I was elected to, specifically if there's a tie, then I'd have, okay, I don't think I'm voting for it or against it. But I think that the board needs to evaluate it and have a thorough insight into what areas we have, and what areas and how it's being handled. I think that that is the main thing. And then citizen input, where they feel all we do is we see them driving around and we don't know what they're doing. And if they were there at the meeting, they could explain and justify exactly what they're doing and account for their time. I think that they need to be directly accountable to the board and to the people. That's the change I want to make.
Ms. Franklin?
What was the question again?
Any changes you would make to city personnel or city services?
Well,
You would propose?
as far as like the city workers, we have discussed in the past doing like work orders. If certain stuff needs to be done in each department, we would fill out a work order. That way the board knows it's getting done. I think that would be a good idea to do something like that for a change, to make sure that the work is getting done.
We talked a little bit with the aldermen about aldermen and candidates about ordinances and how organized they are at City Hall. Just give me, if you could, your assessment of that situation and what you'd like to see done.
We have a lot of ordinances, and I'm not really sure as far as, I know they're all there, you're more than welcome to go see them, but as far as I know in the books, they're listed. I don't know, I'm sure there's room for improvement, but at this point, I'm not really sure what we could do to change it.
I'd like to see them codified so that they're available in booklet form. We have a copy at the collector's office, a copy at City Hall, and the police department have a copy. And anytime during business hours, residents can come in and thumb through them and not have somebody say, well, what do you want to see? Just tell me, I'll find it. And what do you want to see that for? And residents are reluctant to do that because they're afraid that if they're asking questions about something and they don't have an ordinance against it, they'll make an ordinance against it. There isn't any real organization where you just can't walk in, pick up the ordinances and thumb through them and see what the rules are that you're supposed to be living by and that you're supposed to be enforcing. And I agree with Brenda on work orders. I think everything should be done by work order. I proposed that before. Dennis Beauvais felt it was too much paperwork. And Clyde Cossey said when he was over the water department, he didn't like when he got work orders and he hated them. So that's something we need to do. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the same follow-up question I asked the alderman. Understanding that ordinance enforcement is an issue for cities of all sizes. do you feel that ordinances are enforced fairly across the board in St. Mary? And what suggestions do you have for improvements if your answer is no? No, let's start with Mr. Gerardo, please.
Well, as far as our ordinances, our mayor had said at the last forum a couple years ago that if the police chief enforced ordinances, people would run him out of town because he was pestering and bothering everybody. And I think it needs to be simplified. I think that the ordinances need to be, well, the only function that the chief of police can do that the county or the state can do is he can enforce ordinances that they can't. And if we were to dissolve the police department, city of Bloomsdale's grown bigger than us. They don't have a police department. And as far as ordinance enforcement, the mayor can appoint somebody, deputize him, whatever you want to call it, to enforce ordinances. And I'd say have the aldermen in each prospective ward go out and say, hey, this is an eyesore, we need to clean this up, improve your property value and your neighbors, and take care of it on that level instead of writing a ticket.
Thank you.
St. Mary's has a lot of ordinances, and I don't think any citizen in St. Mary's knows every ordinance that we have, because we have so many of them. I think some of them are enforced. I don't think that they're all enforced like they should be. I think we need to go through the ordinances and start. I know it would probably make people mad, but I think, you have an ordinance for a reason. And I think we need to start enforcing the ordinances.
As mayor, do you have a plan for what you would do with city streets in terms of improvements? Which ones you want to address?
Well, there's a lot of streets that need work done. Money's the problem. So I think our concern would be to check and see which streets are in the worst shape, see how much money we have, and go that way.
We have some streets, like Church Street and part of 3rd Street that aren't paved, they're just gravel. And they need to be taken care of. I think that the potholes and the patches, I think that can all be done with the money that we get on the half-cent sales tax that was approved by the voters. And I think that's the way to go, is from what we get is what we spend, and we don't spend more than we have. And we go through priorities. We need to take care of like the streets to Marion Cliff, where we have to make sure ambulance can get up there safe, no matter the weather conditions. I think that our snow route, etc., for the kids going to school during the winter, that all needs to have priority.
As mayor, what proposals or ideas would you bring to the Board of Aldermen to improve the business climate in the city of St. Mary?
Well, I think that we need to be accommodating to make the city look more appealing, the aesthetics. So when you drive through the city of St. Mary, it looks appealing and it looks a lot better. It doesn't look run down. And that will attract them to come here. And as an alderman, I propose the Pride of the City Awards, where we would go through for the people that went the extra mile to improve their property, improve their property values and their neighbors, and made it more appealing to attract business. And I think, we also had Halloween and Christmas decorations contests. And that unity of everybody working together, and then those that are seniors or disabled that are in hard times, others chip in and help. And we're a community, and we need to stand together and for each other and go for the property values going on.
Ms. Franklin?
I think Frank's right about that. We need to make St. Mary's look better. We need some good publicity instead of bad publicity. I think that would help tremendously.
What would you do to promote a more unified atmosphere among the Board of Aldermen?
I think it's communication. I think we all need to sit down and communicate. No screaming, no yelling, no fighting. We just need to sit down and talk. And I think that's what we need to do.
It is communication. If people are upset and they need to vent, you need to let them. You need to listen to them, understand their concerns, acknowledge them, and the board needs to act on it. It's not, your time's up, you only have 2 minutes, and thank you, goodbye. I think that the residents come first. They should be at the top of the agenda in the beginning of the meeting. I think they should be participating in all the ordinances and rules that affect them and have a say. I think that's top priority.
This will be my last question, and thank you for your patience. The mayor is, in many ways, in the position of peacekeeper, both with the Board of Aldermen and with the community. So what will be your strategies? What will you do to resolve differences and conflicts?
Me? Listen. Listen and understand what they're saying, and work with the board and the residents for a solution. That's the key, is they have a right to yell. They have a right to be upset. It's their town. They've invested their livelihood and their life savings into a home with high water rates in a town that needs a facelift, needs some commerce, and we want to attract it.
What was the question again?
What would you do, as a peacekeeper, I have to remember my own wording, what specifically, how do you resolve conflicts, either between the aldermen or with the community?
There again, communication, talking, listening, letting people tell you their problems and trying to work it out peacefully. No screaming, no yelling, just calm and
One last question. I was going to try and merge two questions into one and ask you to think, if you can, about what separates you from your opponent in this regard. Why do you think you would be good for the city of St. Mary as mayor?
Well, I care about St. Mary's. I think it's a great place to live. And I am willing to do what I need to do to make St. Mary's a better place to live.
As far as meetings go, I've heard Beauvais say that you just can't have everybody talking. We'll never get anything done. We need to work on city business. The people of the city business. They're the top priority. We need to listen to them. We need to acknowledge and act. And I think that's the whole thing. the big thing. I've been, like I said, on the board for a while. I've been in town for 13, 14 years, and I've seen it, and I've put in a lot as far as I put up St. Mary website and newsletter, communicating to the people to let everybody know what's going on. That's what got me elected, is people wanted to know. And they didn't like being left in the dark when they found out, oh, we have an ordinance against yard sales now. And that's just ridiculous. We have more important things to do than to worry about shutting down people's yard sales.
Closing statements on this. You have 1 minute to kind of wrap up your thoughts for the night.
Well, I'm for turning things around, and the way to do that is to directly listen to the citizens' concerns, acknowledge them, discuss them with the board, and work for a solution to resolve it and move forward. I don't believe in the strong arm tactics and tyranny we have now, with the yelling coming from the seat of the mayor and belittling the people. They have a right to say what they want to say. It's their town. And I want to make that happen. I want to see property values go up. I want to see our rates for water and sewer and taxes go down. And we have to trim our spending and make it work. And I want to thank CMA for allowing us to have this hall for a forum, and St. Genevieve Herald and University Extension. Thank you very much.
All I have to say is I'm all for community involvement. I'm all for listening to people. And if I'm elected, I will do the best job that I can do. Thank you.
All right, could we have a hand for our candidates? This is not an easy thing to do. We'll go through this. We want to mention that we do have one other candidate who is not with us tonight. She is running unopposed, and that is Gloria Bader. You all know Gloria is running for Alderman in Ward 1 after the resignation of Mandy Knott. I think that's all that Toby and I have this evening. The video will be uploaded on stgentv.com within a couple of days. But we definitely want to thank the CMA Hall, always the best hosts in the county, I swear. You do a great job. And to Jody Odom and St. Genevieve Public Access Television for videotaping for us tonight. Toby, any final words?
Okay.
All right, thank you all for coming, and thank you to our candidates for putting up with this.
Channels 7 and 98 TV and web broadcasting are made possible through contributions and donations from viewers like you. Thank you for your support.